The concept of the budget TV is much different than it has ever been in the past. And today we're going to look at what I consider to be a budget TV. Now, this is the Hisense 65-inch U6SF Pro. And the question I want to answer is, a budget TV, an entry-level-ish TV, enough for you today? Or do you need to step up?
Before we get started, if you're into tech, hi-fi, or movies, be sure to push the subscribe button for new weekly videos.
So let's set the stage a little bit. So this is the Pro version of the U6. So the U6SF Pro in the Hisense line, and there is a non-Pro version underneath this one, and then a 7 version above it. So either this is entry-level plus or mid-level minus, kind of however you want to think about it. And the question is this a spot where you want to be at? And, you know, I've looked at this TV a lot. I've looked at the other televisions around it. And ultimately, I think this is going to come down to a question of price, right? Because things are getting compacted with so many different models. The price is becoming kind of small incrementally. So you really need to look at what you get out of this TV as opposed to what you had to pay for this TV or would have to pay for the TV above it or below it to make that decision. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to go over all the features in the television, and then we're going to talk about what the price is like compared to the other models, and then maybe that'll help you make a decision. Now, when you make a decision about televisions, remember there are 3 things to consider: size, cost, and features, right? If you can figure out those 3 things, then you're going to be able to decide on the TV that's going to fit for you. Now, to get started, we'll take a look at the front, then we'll take a look at the back, then we'll move on to features and other things. From a feature perspective, you know, looking at the front of the television, this kind of check marks all the normal boxes. So you get all your HDR, your Dolby Vision, your HDR, 10 pluses, all that stuff. Taking a closer look at the panel, this is a QLED LED. It's 144 hertz native refresh rate. It's got VRR, so it's great for gaming. Has local dimming, which is super important. Just not long ago, there was no local dimming in an entry-level, even mid-level televisions, LED TVs, and maybe 2 years ago they got introduced, and now without it, you know, it's not a television you want. You don't want to use any kind of edge-lit stuff anymore. Stay away from that. This one has, at a 65-inch, 240 zones versus, I think, 1,000 on the step-up model, so there's a pretty big difference there, and that's going to drive the contrast, the black levels, that kind of piece. Is this going to be OLED level? No, not at all. But we'll talk about that in a bit. Also, on the bezel size here, you get about 1/4 of an inch between the actual picture and the edge of the television. As you get into more expensive TVs, this shrinks more and more and more. But on this unit, this is what you're getting, and I think this is fine enough, right? It's pretty good. One thing I do like about the panel is the anti-reflective coating. It is outstanding. So I'm in a room, I have big windows over here, so I'm filming with ambient light. I've got a light on above, and really you don't get any of that in the screen, right? It looks really, really good. So Hisense has knocked that out of the park, even in the lower end televisions. All right, now that we've talked about all your basic features, let's take a look at the back and talk about some connectivity. Now, taking a look at the back, first thing you're going to notice is that there is a subwoofer on this one, so you are getting that 2.1 sound, which is nice. It does add some fullness. Although I'm never a huge fan of TV sound, you know, if you're going to use it, at least you do have a small subwoofer here that's going to help you on the low end. Big piece here is the connectivity, and we'll talk through this, right? One thing to notice is that the LAN, the optical, and a USB, these are all straight out facing, right? So that might present some challenges if you're wall mounting. Now, over here, you've got your 4 HDMI and your antenna input and a USB. The thing to know about these is that these are not all 2.1. So I believe you've got 2 2.1s and 2 2.0s. You've got 144 4K on your number 3 and your number 4 inputs. Your number 1 is your eARC, and this is a 4K 60, and then you have a number 2, which is 4K 60 as well. So I think most people will end up likely using eARC out to a soundbar, and then you're going to use HDMI 3 and 4 for a gaming system, and then maybe something like an NVIDIA Shield or an Apple TV. One thing I want to point out is the stand, and it's a simple thing, but I really like it. So this has 2 different positions. You can either set them narrow Or there's another setting out here where you can make it a little bit wider. Wider obviously is more stable, but if you have a table that's too small for the wide setting, it's nice to be able to do this. It gives you that option of wide versus narrow. Now let's talk about the big features, and we're going to start with color. This does about 75% of the Rec 2020 color space. This is the year of color, and you see a lot of the higher end sets doing 100% of the Rec 2020 color space, which is really, really cool, right? This is not one of those televisions, but 75% is still really nice. Now, if you step up to the next level up, you're going to get about 85% there. Is 75% versus 85% a big deal? Probably not. Although 75% versus 100% is getting into some pretty big territory. At this price point, though, I think you're going to do really well at 75%, and the colors are great. The television doesn't require a lot of adjustment out of the box to be pretty nice. Obviously, getting a calibration done helps any television, but I don't think that people at this price point are really going to be looking at that. So either you're going to find somebody's settings online, you're going to do your own calibration, right? But you're not going to pay someone because you'd have to pay someone the price of the television to do it. It doesn't make a lot of sense. So the out-of-the-box performance becomes very important, and I think the out-of-the-box performance here is very adequate. As far as brightness goes, you're looking at about 1200 nits, both in HDR and standard definition. Now, this is what's interesting. Just a few years ago, that would have been amazing, right? But you've got televisions now that are popping the 10,000, which is the full level of the spec, which is a lot of brightness. This one is nowhere close to that. But for your buddies that are running their 600 nit OLED televisions, this is twice as bright. Is 1200 nits where you want to be at? I think it is, again, an adequate amount of brightness. This television, I think, gets past the hurdle on most of the items. It's not excelling at these items, but it's giving you enough oomph that the value is there, and you can use this in a bright room. Right now I would say that we've got a moderate amount of light coming in here, and this one is up on vivid right now with the brightness turned up. So this is kind of what you're going to get. And I think this looks great, right? It is plenty bright. I don't feel like the television is too dim. Now, from a blooming perspective, the number of zones that you have does impact that, and you do get some blooming here, right? So this one is not one of those rock solid, almost looks like OLED televisions. Again, though, if you're not a cinephile, a videophile, right, you likely won't be able to tell a difference unless you set this side by side. If you have been watching an OLED television for a long time, then this might leave you a little bit wanting. That is where you're going to see a bigger gap between those two technologies because there's just not enough local dimming zones to give you that really, really good black versus white contrast level. Delay input for gaming is fine. I don't think there's any issues there. Played PS3 on this, PS4, absolutely fine. Played PS5 on this, no problems. I didn't notice any input lag. From a dirty screen perspective, this is, again, fine. I think most televisions have gotten past that hurdle now. You get a little bit on the edges, but all in all, no big issues there. And then off-axis, little bit of a challenge, right? So as I move over here, you can see a little degradation in the color. Again, you're going to have some pretty extreme seating against the edges for that to be noticeable. Although on the smaller size televisions, you can get off axis a little bit easier than if this were a 100-inch television. So all in all, this gives you, I think, an adequate set of features, but it's really going to come down to the adequate set of features versus the cost versus going up or down in the technology stack. Now for a quick peek at the remote control. This is the standard Hisense Fire TV remote control, right? There's nothing special about this remote at all. It's rather small, black plastic, very functional, does fit in the hand well. I do like the circle clicker with the center button. Doesn't have a ton of extraneous buttons. It does have 4. If you look at the Google, there's like 1 billion extraneous buttons. So this gets things done. It's not a humongous footprint and takes 2 AAA batteries in the back.
Now we get to talk about some money. All right. So I'm on Best Buy, so this is real life. And you can see that they've got the U6 Pro, the 2026, the one we're reviewing, for $750. Now, if we go back a page, we'll find the regular U6, the non-Pro, for $650. So you're going down $100 there to get to the more entry-level model. So, like I said before, either this is the entry level plus or the mid level minus. I'm not sure which way you want to think about it. Around the same price, you've got some 24 and 25 televisions on this line. Still more 24, 25s. You do have the Samsung M80H at 800. I think I would go with the Hisense for that. You've got the TCL QLED A3G television. You've got the LG at 830, so almost 100 more. So, this, I think from a price point of view, I think it's very well positioned for the cost for the performance. But, if you look at $950, so 200 more than this, you get up to the 7, right? Instead of the 6 here, or the 6 Pro. So you've got a gap of 100 down and 200 up. So from 650 to 950, you've got 3 different televisions. So not a huge amount of money difference. But I do think you have a pretty big difference in performance when you go from the U6 all the way up to the U7. Now, again, for this television specifically, you really need to look at that price difference. I think $100 upgrade off of the U6 to get to the Pro is a no-brainer. The $200 to go from the U6 Pro to the U7 really is going to depend on your eyes, and if you need the brightness, because the other television, the U7, is twice as bright, or at least it gives you double the number of nits than you get out of this TV. So, it just depends on your room. If budget is, tight, maybe the 750 is the right spot. But I will say that this is not a bad price any which way you look at it.
Once you've got your television fired up, you're going to notice that this is a Fire TV, right? So this isn't using what I'd call standard Google OS. This does use Fire, and you typically find this in lower cost televisions. And one thing that you get with this, I think a little bit more than on the Google side, is there are lots of ads that pop up when you're doing things, right? Because this, obviously is the Amazon OS, and they are trying to push their products and other things and make money. So, they use this as a means to defray cost on the production of the television to keep that cost as low as possible for you. But we are looking at Fire OS here. There's nothing new and shocking, right? This is all standard kind of stuff. And if you look at televisions in any amount, right, you will have seen this before. And it's likely, if you're looking at this television as a new TV, you probably have a unit that has the Fire OS already. Now let's sum all of this up. So at a $750 price point, you're getting a lot of television. There's no question about that. I think the biggest question is, do you want to spend $750 for this unit or $950 for the U7? There's a $200 difference there. If you can't cover the gap, then this is absolutely the television for you. But with the step up in quality that you get in the next level up, it's really something to think about. Can you stretch a little for extra couple $100 to get into that higher end television, which is going to give you a lot more contrast. It's going to give you a lot more local dimming zones. It's going to give you better color. It's just a generally overall better television. And it just comes down to that question of money. For my money, I would step up, but it really all depends on, what the use case for the television is. Is it going to be your primary, secondary, or do you even care, right? So hopefully this video has given you enough ammunition to make that decision. I say go to a store, use your eyes, see if you can even tell a difference between this and the step up or the step down models. And if not, this is going to be the TV for you. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, like, subscribe, ring the bell, do all those things, and I'll see you guys in the next video.